Hi, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Megan.
Welcome to the Grimdark Diaries.
We're your geek gal pals obsessed with true crime and all things dark and disturbing.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Grimdark Diaries. We're kind of excited because we're fiddling around with our audio here and we finally figured out how to use headphones while recording, because before we could only get one set of headphones working, but then
Initially we had no headphones. And our dream was to have two headphones, and we could only have one, and that's no good. And then my lovely brother-in-law, he told me how I could get two headphones. So now we have that going, and we're really excited. Yeah.
Because we feel like it's going to improve our audio a lot, because we can hear when we're screaming at each other.
Those high pitches.
Yeah.
We'll catch those this time. Hopefully.
Yeah. So we've been trying to play around with the audio lately, and I know some episodes are like really aggressively loud and some are a little quiet, because we're just trying to find our groove. And Megan and I don't really know much about audio, so it's trial and error right now. Right. And then we don't know until after we record, and then we're doing the editing and we listen to it and we're like, wow, I just screamed about Pokemon for an hour. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your patience with us while we figure out our audio.
Yes. So we hopefully kind of have it figured out by now. I think these headphones will help a lot. So
yes, I hear everything.
Yeah. So hopefully it sounds better to you. And if it doesn't, then you can just go away, because
don't go
away, but just
be more lenient with us.
Yeah. We're trying our best, and we don't get paid for this.
Yeah, that's right.
We would buy nicer equipment, but we don't have any money. So
that's right.
Someday we'll buy a fancy something to make it better.
Yeah, and maybe two mics.
Maybe.
And then we'll have a mic each, and we can try to figure out how to edit those ones.
Yeah. So there's no more you loud, me quiet episodes.
Exactly. We have to try to figure out our perfect distance away from the mic so that we're both the same loudness. But I actually discovered recently that I am a much quieter speaker than Nikki.
I'm pretty aggressive when I talk.
You can be.
I got no chill, Megan. In everything. You gotta realize that translates to everything in my life.
You've literally said that in every episode, I think. So we know that you have no chill. And I either have like the most aggressive laugh ever, or I trail off into nothingness. And I'm like, what did I say in that episode? I don't hear myself. So we're working on it.
Hopefully this one sounds better.
That's our hope. Let us know in the comments.
But don't be mean to us, because I'm fragile.
That's right. Don't break Nikki, please. Okay, so this week my category was about hide and seek, if you recall correctly from last week. And I will tell you right now that searching hide and seek murder stories on the internet is really awful, awful, awful. And I didn't really want to do a story about a poor child.
No, you can stop right there.
I'm just not going to finish that sentence. We're not going to go with that. Yeah. So I am definitely going very loosely with the hide and seek on this one, and you will hear where I bring it up, but it's a great story. It's not obviously a good story, but it is a story that will keep you captivated.
Hey, we're Grimdark here. Everything's fast and loose.
It's true.
If you pull one tiny grasp at straws to get the category, I'm with you.
That's exactly
I'm basically
what we do.
just here to hear true crime.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we just put a theme because we wanted to be special, and we wanted to try and differentiate ourselves from other podcasts, since there's a million other true crime podcasts.
Yeah.
So honestly, the theme is not that important.
We're pretty loose with it, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going to dive right in. Melissa Taylor Stoddard was born in 2001 in Greensboro, North Carolina, to her mother, Alicia Stoddard, and father, Kenneth. Alicia and Kenneth both met in the military and had gotten married in the year 1998. They all lived in a house with their son, who was 20 months older than Melissa. Melissa had been born with autism. It was a condition that the Stoddards were already familiar with because their son was also diagnosed with autism. Both children attended McIver Education Center, which was in Greensboro and was a public school for children who had disabilities. The center stated that Melissa was a handful. There was a time that was noted where she had kicked over a filing cabinet because she was having an angry outburst. There was another incident where she just flat out refused to come inside from the playground. Also noted that that is normal child behavior as well. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Some kids are brats.
Yeah, I think this was part of the condition, but it was also just normal kid behavior at the same time, so. It was normal practice for the students at this education center to be assessed by a child psychologist. There was a time noted where one of the psychologists asked Melissa to name a bunch of different shapes during a math test, but Melissa would only exclaim that they were all triangles. There was one teacher in this education center whose name was Jamie North. She had been teaching special education for about 14 or 15 years at this point. North was a self-made woman. She was alone early on in life as her mother died when she was 15 years old, and her father had up and moved away and remarried someone, leaving North alone. So North had worked at a truck stop and raised all the money she would need to pay her way through college by cooking breakfast and getting some finance aid as well. North states that she will go for daily 5 or 6 mile walks. The job of a special education teacher is a difficult one and causes high burnouts. North describes Melissa as fierce and stubborn, but she had found highly creative ways to help calm her down and quiet these fits. One such way was when her and another adult had to escort Melissa out of the classroom during one of her raging fits, and we're talking about the best laundry soaps. Super captivating.
Yeah.
This conversation was so utterly ridiculous that Melissa ended up getting bored and stopped crying. It was effective, apparently.
Yeah.
Another method was to get Melissa to stand in a corner and then count to 100. This always allowed time for Melissa's anger to subside. Oftentimes, these anger fits came because of unexpected change in Melissa's day, so what the teacher decided to do was laminate photos and create a schedule on the wall so that Melissa would always know what to expect next. There were no more surprises in the everyday schedule. North noted that another fascination that Melissa had was with ladybugs. So what better way to help Melissa behave properly than to set up a reward system that involved ladybugs in some way? North got a bunch of ladybug cards, and if Melissa was able to collect 4 by doing good deeds and behaving, then she got to play with a toy of her choice that she liked. Every single day, this was their routine. Melissa was thriving in this environment. She was finally able to understand what was expected of her.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I love it. This teacher sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So North said, quote, "She knew we cared about her. She knew there were boundaries. She knew there were good things in store for her. I tried to be a nurturing person she could count on." End
That's
quote.
precious.
Yeah. She sounds so amazing, this teacher. I absolutely adore her. It would be between the years of 2009 and 2010 that there would be a significant shift in Melissa's behavior. She was a different child, and instead of misbehaving and getting out of hand, she was now enforcing the rules in class.
Oh.
For example, if someone weren't sitting in their chairs properly, she would tell them to sit down. She was now known as a teacher's dream.
Nice.
North said, quote, "Once she got the system down, everybody else was going to follow the system, and they'd listen to her because Melissa had a leader alpha-type personality." End quote. One trait of Melissa's that speaks to my own heart is that she belted out Disney songs as if she were an opera singer when the class was listening to music.
I love that.
Yeah.
I had a Disney sing-along VHS when I was a kid.
Did you?
Oh, and I slayed that thing.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I used to have these sing-along books for Disney. I think there were about 4 or 5 of them, so they came with a
cassette or
nope, not VHS. It was a cassette tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were 4 or 5 different books that, like, most of them were The Little Mermaid because that was one of my favorite Disney movies when I was a kid. And all of them were, like, little sing-along books. So it was like, you know, lyric videos, basically.
Yeah.
You read the book and you got to sing along with the cassette tapes, which were amazing.
I feel that. I love my VHS. Yeah. It had Be Our Guest on it.
Yeah.
And I would just twirl around my living room and sing Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast.
I love that so much.
Yeah, it really shaped me as a human today.
Did it? How so?
Because I sing and dance now.
I thought you meant that one song in specific.
No.
In
well,
specific? Yeah.
In specific.
I don't know why
Specifically?
I said that. Specifically, yes. That one song.
Well, it's just it got me on the path of loving musical theater and dancing and singing and all that stuff, which I still enjoy.
Totally fair.
Today.
Yeah. I do love it as well, but I did not pursue any kind of hobby or career with it.
It's never too late, Megan.
No, it's not. You're right. I could still perform on Broadway. It's never too late.
Broadway's opening in September.
Is it really?
Yes, they announced Broadway's opening this September.
I didn't know
at
that.
100% capacity.
No way.
Yeah, good luck to them.
How do they know?
They just deem it to be so.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah, we don't live there.
I'd love to live with hope in my heart.
Yes.
So
someday I will see Broadway live. I don't know what that
is. Broadway.
I don't know. My Cape Breton came out for like a hot second. I try and tuck it in most days, but it really just peaked out there. I hope to see Broadway live one day is what that sentence was supposed to be.
Oh, I love it so much. Yeah, I would absolutely love to see Broadway too. There's so many different shows. I know we've talked about this on the show before,
yes.
But I would love to see. There's so many different kinds of shows.
Is there one show that you have in mind that you would like to see, or you just...
So it used to be The Phantom of the Opera, and that show, I actually did see that show when I lived in Calgary, and it was honestly one of the most soul-shaping, beautiful... I have no other adjectives to say.
Really? I'm not a huge fan.
It changed. Really?
Yeah.
Was it the one that you saw, maybe, or
I just find in general it's just a little boring for me. I need a little more. I need a little more.
That's fair.
Pizzazz in
That's
my
fair.
Broadway.
I saw a couple of different shows at Neptune Theatre, which is our local theater song and dance place. It's not a play.
They do
place.
musical theater.
Yeah,
it's dinner theater type.
You don't have dinner there.
No,
I guess there's a restaurant there, isn't there?
Yeah, but I'm just mean like it's not like a full-on Broadway show with productions. No. It's theater plays.
Yeah, exactly.
And they tend to be original plays. They're written locally.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and the ones that I have seen there, I saw Jesus Christ Superstar, and I saw, there was one done, I forget the name of it, but it was about Maud Lewis.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it was so good. They did such a good job. My aunt used to take me a lot when I was younger, and we used to go see these amazing, incredible shows there. I love live theater, honestly. I would love to go to a bigger one. The one I went to in Calgary, though, the Phantom of the Opera, it was always my dream to go see that one in theater, like a live theater, and it did not disappoint. Nice. I was in tears. Like, I literally was a changed woman after that. It was so beautiful. It was so wonderful. I would love to go see it again. There's hands down, I would see that one again.
Yeah. I haven't seen any big Broadway or musical theater shows. I've been to Neptune, but I've seen a lot of large ballets in person, and those are good. But I mean, it's a different thing than Broadway, but I've seen a lot of large ballet productions, and those have been life-shattering for me. But my dream would be to see Chicago live.
Oh, that would be a good one.
That is my favorite. And it would be absolutely my dream come true to see that.
How did you know about it? From the movie?
Chicago?
Yeah.
No, bro, I grew up a dancer.
Okay, I get that. But you hadn't seen it in live theater though, right?
I've seen recordings of it, and I've listened to soundtracks and stuff before the movie came out. And then the movie came out, and I think the movie is amazing. I really like the movie.
I like the movie too.
Yeah, a lot of times I don't like musical movies. Like, I'm going to be real with you, and I'm sure I'm going to get some hate on this.
No.
I hate Rent.
I've never seen it.
The movie Rent.
I've never seen it.
I do not like it.
I thought you were going to say Grease or something.
No, I love
that.
Grease.
I love Grease too.
I absolutely love Grease. Grease is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've just seen so many different iterations of Grease. And I was in Grease once when I was a teenager. I was a pink lady.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in my dance school and my performing arts school, I was in Grease.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I like Grease, but I feel like I've just seen it so many times that I don't know. Fair. It's just, I love it though. I absolutely love it. But Chicago is it's just the bee's knees for me.
Another one I would love to see, and I forget the name of it, but it's about the Wicked Witch of the West.
Wicked. It's called Wicked.
Okay. Okay.
I would love to see Wicked as well.
That one I definitely want to see.
I've done, so like in dance competitions, I've been in like musical theater numbers that have done Wicked, or my like performing arts school have done Wicked numbers. Yeah. So I know a lot of the songs and stuff from it. Like, I'm very familiar with them, and I've seen like videos and stuff, but that's also one that I would love to see.
Yeah.
It's not on my like top list if I was in like a top 3 kind of situation, but
fair.
But I would love to see it.
Yeah.
If it was offered to me, I would be all in.
Yes. Oh yeah. So good.
Well, that was a tangent.
That really was a tangent.
I don't even know how we got there, but let's bring that back around.
Now back to true crime. Her former principal, Sarah Nachtrab, said, quote, "She did everything with passion. If she had a behavior, she was passionate. If she was happy, she was passionate. There was no middle ground for Melissa," end quote. When Melissa was only 5 years old, her parents decided to separate. Shortly after this happened, Kenneth's daughter found love in an old high school flame that he had reconnected with. Her name was Misty, 37 years old, and was from Oregon.
Was she a Pokemon trainer?
She may have been. Is that a Pokemon trainer's name? I'm like, I don't know.
I really hope all our listeners caught on before Megan.
You could actually hear the moment when my gears started clicking.
It was just a moment of silence. I was really hoping you would know who that was, and you didn't, and it's fine.
I know Ash. I know Ash.
Yes.
That's literally all I know.
I bet if I showed you a picture of Misty,
maybe.
She's the one with orange hair and kind of a side pony and a yellow crop top.
Short shorts.
Yes. Okay. And she has water Pokemon.
Okay.
That's her jam. And she also has a Psyduck.
You have to pick a type of Pokemon?
Remember we talked about Megan. Don't make me go over this.
We did. No.
Megan had some wine when we did our Pokemon episode.
But
gym leaders.
It's a lot to take.
It is. So Misty had a gym.
Okay.
So remember how we talked about gyms tend to specialize?
Yes.
So she specialized in water Pokemon.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that was her jam.
Okay,
and then she becomes Ash's BFF.
Okay.
And she has a Psyduck, which I didn't mention in our Pokemon episode, but that's another one of my favorite Pokemon.
A Psyduck?
A Psyduck.
Okay. Is it like a platypus?
Yes.
Oh, is it really?
It does kind of look like a platypus.
I was just guessing.
Yeah, and it has a headache all the time.
A headache?
Yeah, so its hands are always on its little head because it has a little migraine all the time. I love it.
It needs to drink more water.
It's a water type. It's the cutest.
Well,
it has psychic abilities.
I'll have to see it to understand.
Yeah, I feel like you actually wouldn't like a Psyduck, but
okay.
I love them.
Okay, well, you never know. Eventually, they would relocate to Sarasota County, Florida with their other children that she had from another marriage. It was around this time when things would start going really well for Melissa at school. She was excelling in her class and always attended and was very presentable. However, it would be in 2007 that the Florida Department of Children and Families investigated how Melissa, who was 6 years old at the time, would continually try to pull down her father's pants and touch him privately. The report questioned if Melissa may have been exposed to sex in the past, as it seemed that Melissa was driven to behave in this manner. It was around this same time when Melissa and her brother would be caught in their Greensboro condo licking and touching each other.
How old was the brother?
He's only 20 months older than her, so if she was 6, he would have been 7-ish. Fast forward to July 2012, Melissa and her brother were in Sarasota County, Florida, visiting her father like they had so many times before. Misty Stoddard would stumble across Melissa's biological brother in a room and was pulling up his shorts, while her biological daughter from a previous marriage was hiding her head under a pillow. It was then that Melissa's older brother, who was 13 years old at the time, would be arrested and charged with a felony count of lewd and lascivious conduct. It was reported to the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office affidavit that Misty's daughter reported being molested 3 times since Melissa's brother arrived from North Carolina. But due to Melissa's brother's autism, he was deemed unfit or not competent to proceed with the case. Because of this issue, Melissa's mother, Alicia, was left with an exceedingly difficult decision to make. She was warned by Child Protective Services that her 2 children were no longer allowed to live under the same roof. So Alicia had to decide whether she wanted to send her son to a group home or to send Melissa to live with her father in Sarasota County, Florida. Alicia decided that it would be best if Melissa went to live with her father so she could properly take care of her son. But she wanted to make sure that she could keep in touch with Melissa as often as she liked, so she bought her an iPhone so they could Skype each other. There was a lot of change coming for Melissa after this decision was made. The order that she had thrived on at her school and home back in North Carolina was uplifted and gone suddenly. So many things would change for her, even as simply as the fridge being in a different spot in a completely different kitchen. Everything would become unfamiliar to her. On top of that, she was no longer living with one parent and one sibling. She was now living with 2 parents and the children, which included 3 sons, then aged 15, 5, and 4, as well as 2 daughters, 8, and a baby 1-year-old. Melissa was 11 years old when she moved in with them late that summer. Teresa Dermody was a neighbor to the Stoddards and always thought of Misty Stoddard as a lonely woman. Kenneth Stoddard managed a bookstore and so was often not home, so that left Misty alone to care for these 6 children, one of which had autism. Teresa noted that she no longer saw Melissa playing outside and having fun with the other children during these long summer days, and she also made note of the tone difference that Misty would display while talking about Melissa compared to her other children. Teresa described it like, quote, "Resentment is the best word I can come up with. I have another child here who is not mine to take care of, and my hands are full with what I already have," end quote. Super sad. Melissa would start to act out soon after moving in with her father. It was reported that one day she had stuck her younger half-brother's head into the pool and held him under so he wasn't able to breathe before she was stopped. Another time, she had broken her father's glass table and also ran around the house knocking over the blinds. Her tantrums appeared to come out of nowhere. She threw her toys around the house as well as her shoes. She was most aggressive with Misty, since she was the one who was home with Melissa the most. Melissa would scratch her often and even had bitten her a time or two. Melissa did take medicine that helped her sleep and stabilize her moods. These prescriptions that Alicia Stoddard, her biological mother, has paid for, filled and sent by FedEx to Florida when her daughter left. One day, Alicia stopped getting calls from Melissa on the iPhone that they used to stay in touch with each other. The calls from the Stoddard house altogether were becoming less and less frequent. Eventually, those calls just ended. 5 months after Melissa had moved to Sarasota County, Florida, in December 2012, she was taken to a hospital and put on life support.
What?
She had marks circling her ankles and bruises that covered her legs. Blame was being thrown around as to who did this to poor sweet Melissa. Ultimately, Misty was the one who was taken into custody. But Misty was very quick to point the finger at her husband, Kenneth. Melissa was brain dead and on life support for several days until she died from a lack of oxygen to the brain and was pronounced dead on December 17th, 2012.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, this escalated extremely quickly. There is so much more to this story than what you're seeing on the surface. Initially, Misty Stoddard is being charged with first-degree murder and aggravated child abuse in the death of her stepdaughter Melissa, who was 11 years old with autism. Kenneth Stoddard is being charged with aggravated manslaughter and was expected to stand trial in August 2013. During the trial, it would come up that Melissa's death was caused by suffocation after she had been tied to a wooden plank with her mouth duct-taped closed.
Oh my goodness.
Story is
That's
just
awful.
Horrible, I know. The wooden plank was propped up in the courtroom near the jury and was brought up throughout the entire trial. It was described as a homemade torture device. There were holes drilled throughout the plank, and prosecutors would showcase how Melissa was tied to it more often than the night she died to keep her quiet. The defense, on the other hand, fought that this board was, in fact, created by Kenneth Stoddard to act out sexual bondage fantasies with his wife, Misty. Misty would go on to say that Kenneth would tie her up and abuse her against her will, and that she only tied Melissa up to this board twice because she didn't know how to handle a child with autism that tended to become violent at times. Misty was concerned what Melissa might do around her newborn child. The prosecution had a different story. Melissa's body was covered in injuries at the time of her death. They noted that she had a black scab on her lower back, which would have likely been caused by trying to break free from the board. Melissa also had scars on her mouth consistent with being gagged.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I can't even
That's
think
heartbreaking.
I know. She was only 11. I can't even begin to imagine. Prosecutor Suzanne O'Donnell said, quote, "Parenting is hard, and parenting an autistic child is harder. But parents do it every day. They do not kill their children." End quote. After Misty was arrested, a woman who shared a cell with her testified against her, saying that Misty confessed to duct taping Melissa's mouth shut the night she was rushed unresponsive to the hospital. In the weeks that led up to Melissa's death, a teacher from her school, Oak Park School, by the name of Paul Squay, testified that he had notified a state agency anonymously after becoming suspicious over what was happening at home. He noted that Melissa sometimes came to school with stitches above her eyebrow, and Misty had taken it upon herself to email the school to say that Melissa had banged her head. However, Paul noted that Melissa had never hurt herself in the classroom, so he filed a child abuse report to the Florida Department of Children and Families website. A social worker had tried to visit the home, but Misty had told the worker that Melissa was out running errands with her father and wouldn't let her come inside. The social worker did not return after to follow up.
Why?
It didn't actually say a reason. I'm not sure.
If there's like a case opened, I don't know anything. I'm not a social worker and I also don't live in the US. But if a case was opened because of a complaint, you would think that they would need some kind of closure other than wasn't home, case closed.
But I think because it was an anonymous tip, there was no person to go back to kind of collaborate with to discuss if it was an actual real claim or not. I don't know if they have.
That's cray.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they have like false claims put in all the time and they just try to investigate, and if it turns out to be nothing, they just leave. I'm not sure. This cry for help from Paul may have gone mostly unnoticed, and may be why the social worker never went back. See, Paul reported this using a computer in the school staff lounge at about 1:15 p.m. on December 10th, 2012. He did so anonymously. The issue here is that teachers are not only mandated by state law to report suspected child abuse, but are also required to use their full names when doing so. On the fourth day of the trial, jurors again sat near the plywood board that Melissa writhed against to free herself as she suffocated. They also were given the task of watching a video that showed Melissa, who was alive at the time, crying and wringing her hands together as she sat alone in the night on a back porch while Misty Stoddard played hide-and-go-seek with her own children inside. The evil stepmother had actually videotaped her stepdaughter's fits to show her husband as well as outside agencies that could provide support so they could all see how intense Melissa's tantrums were. While Melissa sat there and watched her siblings outside playing hide-and-go-seek with their mother. I feel like any child would freak out.
I'd be upset about that.
Right?
Nobody likes being left out.
No.
Nobody likes FOMO.
Exactly. I feel like it's so unfair, and I don't understand why she would actually videotape that thinking it would help her. You're literally dangling fun in front of her and telling her she can't come out and play.
I, as a person with no chill, I would be very upset.
Right?
I would like to participate in said fun.
Yes, exactly. I don't think anybody would.
And win whatever the fun is because I don't like losing.
Because you're such a competitive person.
I'm not even that competitive. I feel like I just like winning or not playing at all.
I feel like that is literally the definition of competitive. Prosecutor Karen Fraveley got the cross-examination on this one. She said, quote, "She sat on that lanai and begged you to let her in the house. Why didn't you just let that poor child into your house?" End quote. Misty Stoddard's own 16-year-old son took the stand to testify against his mother. He said that sometimes Misty would place a sock in Melissa's mouth as a gag, and then duct tape was wrapped all the way around her head like a scarf. He then went on to say that he had seen both his mother and her partner Kenneth tie Melissa to a plywood board in her room. Misty Stoddard denied doing this when she was on the stand later on. She was basically calling her son a liar on the stand, and this was too much for him. So he jumped up from the bench seat and rushed out, tears streaming down his face.
I feel like a 16-year-old boy is not going to make that up about his
Right?
own mother.
And
knowing the consequences of what will happen.
That's right.
Of him saying this, he wouldn't lie.
Exactly. And to jump up with tears streaming down your face because your mom is basically calling you a liar, I feel like a teenage boy would not do that unless it was legitimate.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking. Alicia Stoddard, Melissa Stoddard's biological mother, wrote an impact statement that prosecutor Freilich read to the courtroom, speaking directly to Misty Stoddard. She said, quote, "I no longer get to look into my daughter's big, beautiful eyes or tuck her in at night or feel her hugs. For that, I will never forgive you. You are a poor excuse for a mother and a human being." End quote.
Wow.
Mic drop from the mom. On August 14th, 2014, Misty Stoddard was convicted of first-degree murder and was given an automatic mandatory life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole, as well as given an additional 30 years in prison for her conviction on an aggravated abuse charge in the death of 11-year-old Melissa Stoddard.
Whoa.
And that is the story of Melissa Stoddard and her no chance at life.
Did the dad get his charges?
Yes, he was found guilty of aggravated manslaughter, aggravated child abuse, and tampering with evidence, and sentenced to 65 years.
Ouch.
Thank God.
I wonder what happened to all of the children. I wonder if they had family that took, like, all of Misty's children.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the other children went. I assume they went with another family member, another relative. Their dad wasn't actually convicted until almost a year.
I guess they would have a biological dad, too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they could have very well went with their biological father. I don't know what that custody agreement was like, but yeah, it could have been anything, or they could have just went with another family member. I'm not sure. Hopefully they're being well taken care of at this point. So, Nikki, did you ever play hide and seek when you were younger?
I didn't super love hide and seek. Where I grew up, we weren't in town with all the other kids. We were kind of like, it wasn't really the country, but there was farms and stuff. So there wasn't a ton of kids. And like, I had like a best friend and stuff, and I had an older brother, but there wasn't really enough of us to play hide and seek.
That's fair.
Yeah. But then when I was in like, maybe like early junior high, I had friends that lived in like subdivisions in town, and we wouldn't play hide and seek, but we would play cops and robbers.
Oh.
Because I would go to my friend's house and we would wait until it was like dark in the subdivision, like dark outside.
The darkness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like half people would be cops and half would be robbers.
Yeah.
And like it's basically kind of like hide and seek. It's just like big open hide and seek in a big subdivision, and you had flashlights if you were the cops.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. One time, I didn't play very often though because I didn't live in that subdivision. Like the kids that lived there played all the time.
Right.
And then I went a couple times and played with my friends that lived there. And then one time I was playing and you play in the dark, and I like was running and I stepped in a hole in the ground and I twisted my ankle. Yeah, and then I didn't want to play anymore.
That's fair. I wouldn't want to either.
I was really jealous the whole time because I'm like, these kids get to play this every day. I'm so jealous. And then I played and I twisted my ankle and was like, oh, this is very hazardous. I am uninterested in this.
This is a dangerous game.
Yeah, this is way too dangerous.
We used to play hide and seek when I was a kid a lot. Well, I had an older brother and sister. I shouldn't say had.
Yeah.
I have an older brother and sister. My sister is 5 years older than me, and my brother is 7 years older than me. So they're quite a bit older. And they would have friends come over and we would all play hide and seek together. I was the youngest, so I was only allowed to play when we were in the house and when it was daytime. But then when it became nighttime, they were allowed to leave the house and play outside, like around the house. We had like a huge field in the backyard too. It was a squash field or something. So
as in squash plants? Like you grew squash?
I don't know who it was. It was one of our neighbors. They grew squash plants. Yeah, it was an entire field of squash plants.
Fun.
Which I used to jump on when I was a kid.
What an awful child.
I didn't know what they were or what I was doing. And after tasting squash, I don't regret it.
You don't like squash?
I don't like squash, no.
Oh my goodness. I love squash.
Unless I have it in something that is better than the way that it's been made for me, I find it very bland.
Okay, I'm going to make you a meal with squash in it, and I'm not going to tell you there's squash in it.
Oh, okay.
And then afterwards...
In it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you put squash in things. It's always been a side for us growing up.
Oh, like just like mashed squash?
Yes.
No, honey. Absolutely not.
Okay, please teach
that's
me
just
the
boring.
ways of
That's
squash.
That's boring.
That's what I mean. Like, it's pretty bland. I think my mom puts stuff in it to make it taste better. Like, she puts like brown sugar in it or something.
Why would you put sugar in a vegetable?
I don't know. It makes it tastier.
That's a bad sign.
I still don't like it no matter what.
I'm going to feed you something with squash in it, and you're going to, afterwards, I'm going to be like, ba-bam! There was squash in this.
Please say it exactly like that.
I'm gonna be like, you've been squashed, baby.
Perfect.
Or something. I'll come up with a better.
Okay.
I'll workshop that. I'll think of a pun maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you want to send in your squash puns, please send them to thegrimdarkdiaries@gmail.com. Courtney, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Or directly to Nikki.
Or just, that's a better idea.
Because
okay, wait.
I'll see it if you send it to the
don't
email.
send it to the email. So slide into my DMs with the best squash puns you have. And I'm not going to make Megan this meal until I get a good squash pun.
Okay.
So this entire scenario is fully dependent on our listeners. And I know how much you guys love puns.
No pressure, though.
Yeah.
No.
And so as a lover of the Crypt Keeper, I he's my betrothed. I really love puns. So, like, I have a very
I think the
high
Crypt Keeper
caliber of puns.
I think the Crypt Keeper is going to come up in every episode now going forward.
You can't stifle our love, Megan.
That's right.
It defies all life and death.
Yes, literally.
Literally.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I can understand why you have a love for puns, especially from him. He's got everyone.
They're always on point.
So good, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I can't wait for that dinner though.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Once I have lots of meals I can make, but I'm waiting for the pun so I can feed you.
Yeah, no, that's good. I probably will know when it's coming because you're going to feed me. We'll see. I'm very excited. So anyway, my purpose of saying that was because...
Oh, right. We got really off track. I was really offended by you not liking squash. Please continue with your hide and seek.
Were you offended by me stepping on the squash and ruining
kids are bad. So.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
would make my brother trip and fall on the electric fence on our farm. So.
What? Oh my god.
He did it to me too.
Wow. Okay, that's a different kind of relationship.
Yeah, we would play frisbee and I would throw it so that he would go backwards into our electric fence.
I hope it wasn't a high voltage.
No, it was just to keep the cows in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
But oftentimes he would jump over it and he would tell me to jump over it and he'd be like, we're going to go play over here. You got to jump over the fence. Even though he could have easily lifted me over the fence. And he'd be like, you got to jump over it. But I was a lot shorter than him and I would not clear the fence and I'd hook my feet on it and I would get shocked.
Oh, no.
We got shocked by that fence a lot.
You think it would deter you, but this may also
Absolutely not. All the best fun was in the fields, so you had to get over that electric fence.
Did it ever make you like wary or scared of going near it?
No, absolutely not.
You just got used to it.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. Electric fences, it's not like a long electrocution, like it gives you like a zap.
Oh.
And then if you stay on it in a little bit, it'll give you another zap, but it's not like a zzz.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No,
okay.
It's like think of like the worst shock you ever got when you touched something. You know what I mean?
I guess.
It's like that, but then a little worse.
I'm just trying to think of a shock that I've had.
You don't get shocked?
There was one time... No, I don't.
I do a lot.
Really? Oh,
I must be very dry.
There was one time... I'm going to leave that one alone.
It's all the time I spend with my Crypt Keeper husband. No, sorry. My Crypt Keeper side dude. Don't tell my husband.
I'm not touching
Nobody
that one.
Tell my husband. Spoilers, he doesn't listen to the podcast. He turns it on and turns the volume to 0 to give us a listen. Thank you for that.
Until he can properly quote
Yeah, we're gonna
you.
see. We're gonna see if he listens to the podcast. This will be the true test.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So the worst one that I can think of ever happening was when I accidentally unplugged my straightener and my hand was wet. So when I unplugged it, a shock, like an electric shock from the actual outlet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it carried onto the straightener plug and it zapped my finger. I dropped the plug in the sink and I was like,
that's just the worst.
Am I okay? I think I'm okay. It wasn't that bad. It just kind of like sent tingles up my arm and stuff. And
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Not gonna lie, it wasn't great.
There you go. That's the equivalent of I don't know. I can't really remember. As a kid, I feel like as a kid, you're pretty durable. And
It's so true.
You fall or you get banged up and you're like, it's fine.
Kids are resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's probably a better word than durable.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, how did you...
Let me just stop interrupting you. I'm probably going to interrupt you again. It's just what I do.
It's fine.
Megan, I have no turn off switch.
This is why I chose you for the podcast. Yes, with regards to hide and seek, I was pretty much done anyway. We were talking about how at nighttime my brother and sister would be able to go out with their friends to play hide and seek, but I was too young because they're so much older than I am. I like to throw that in there because they listen to this.
Yeah.
So because they were so much older than I was, they were allowed to go outside at nighttime and play hide and seek. And I would get to sit there and watch the flashlights going around like the house out in the field and stuff like that. And they would like jump in the field and lay down and you could, from my angle, I was up higher so I could like see them. I was allowed out on the deck. I just wasn't allowed off the deck. We had like a wraparound veranda that went from the back of the house to the side of the house. And I was allowed to stay on that, but I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And even enjoyed the parts where I wasn't allowed to join because I was allowed to watch.
That's fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so other than that, we didn't play a whole lot of games at home. But So what other kind of games do you like to play when you were a child?
We played outside a lot just because, so I did live on like a farm. It didn't have like a ton of stuff going on. There'd be like some cows and hay and stuff.
And an electric fence.
Well, that was to keep the cows in.
That's right.
Yeah. So we would play a lot outdoors, which I feel like a lot of people our age when we were kids, we were very much outdoor. You had to go outside.
I wasn't allowed inside until supper time.
We never really had that stipulation, but we wanted to play outside because we had like acres and acres to play on.
That's fair.
So it was like a new adventure every day. So we would play outside a lot, but then that was just kind of like roaming around and playing. But if we were playing indoors, so I had a best friend that lived up the street and she was really amazing and I thought she was the coolest ever. She's a little bit older than me. And we used to record talk shows a lot as kids, like as very young kids.
A talk show?
Yeah, like a talk show. We would do like voice recordings.
Wow.
Yeah, she had like kind of like one of those talk boy things.
Oh yeah.
Remember those to record voice?
Yeah.
So we would record like so many cassettes filled with talk shows, and we would have, she was the host. Her name was Hillary. It was the Hillary Show. And so,
wasn't there actually? Oh, I'm thinking
your Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah,
I'm like, wait, there was an actual show.
Yeah. And she was a great host. And then I would play guests, and we would like make commercials, and we would record like double-sided cassettes.
That's amazing.
Of these talk shows.
I love
and we would spend days and days like deciding what the segments would be and like talking on these talk shows, which I feel like really shaped me as a human because now I just like talking and I could talk forever and I have no problem talking in front of people. And
Perfect.
I love, like, one of the reasons I liked marketing when I was in school is because you give presentations, and I love giving presentations.
Wow.
If I could have a job where I give presentations or like anything where I just speak in front of people, I would just be living the dream.
You should stream on Twitch.
I don't really have any skills that I could show
you don't
people.
Need skills.
I don't think people, I need something to talk about. I need like something to get my stories going.
It's a very, very recent thing that became popular on Twitch is the hot tub streams.
I don't know what that means.
Women get in hot tubs and then they chat with their chat while they're in a hot tub.
Can I get in something that'll make me less sweaty? Because I'm not a huge hot tub person. It makes me very sweaty. I would like just like a room temperature tub.
Okay, yeah, room temperature.
Could I just get on my couch with a cozy blanket?
I feel like people would relate to that.
Yeah.
You could definitely 100% do just chatting.
So wait,
streams.
what do they talk? Do people talk to them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can do that. Because I can talk like on my own pretty good, but I need some kind of like prompt. Like
you
can't
have
just
chat. So I mean, at the beginning, you don't really have anybody until people start to follow you. So you would be talking to yourself at the beginning, but you could like fill the air with games that you're playing or something like that. And then eventually you'd have people join your chat and want to talk to you, and then you can talk to them, and then they would follow you for you. And yeah, no matter what you wanted to do, they would come into your chat and chat with you about whatever.
I don't know if I'm that interesting.
I think you are. You have a lot of things to say, especially with the right prompt.
That's the thing. I need something to do some recall, but oh boy, do I have a lot of stories. Man, I could tell you, I feel like someday we're going to really break into my university days and the times that I was dancing for like a pro basketball team, and boy, do I have just a lot of
We've only scratched the surface of those stories.
I have to apologize to my mother before every one of those episodes. I don't even know.
So about those games when you were a child.
Yeah, so I did a lot of talk shows. That was our game.
Was fun.
Yeah, we played. I played a lot of imagination games like make believe. We liked a lot of that. We would do a lot of, I don't even know what you would, I guess you just call it make believe. Like we would make up scenarios in our head, and this is like the lamest thing ever. I was telling somebody about this recently, but so we lived on like farmland, so it was like acres, and there was a field beside our house, And in the middle of the field, there was this big tree. And it was like the only really big tree in this field because it was they made hay on this field.
Right.
And when I was a kid, the tree seemed really far away.
Right.
Like I'm talking taking that ring to Mount Doom kind of distance. So like I feel like it was every couple weeks, but I don't know. As a kid, your timeline is just messed. We would make a plan, like me and my brother would make a plan. We called it the weapons tree.
Okay.
Because when you have sticks, you can make believe weapons.
Yes.
Right? So like a stick can be a sword or it can be a
Yes.
bow and arrow or whatever it is.
Yep.
So we would make a plan and like a mission to travel to the weapons tree to get fresh weapons.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I love it.
Maybe this is why I like D&D so much. But it would be like, it wouldn't just be like, oh, you want to go over to the weapons tree today? It would be like, okay, so in a fortnight, we're going to a weapons tree, but I'm sure we used more like Rugrats-esque lingo as children. And it seemed like it was the biggest adventure,
I
like
love it.
Fellowship of the Ring type adventure to get to this weapon tree. And then it was this huge tree, so there would often be new fallen sticks and branches and stuff.
Yes.
So we would collect them as our new weapons, and then we
Wow.
would make this big trip back to the house from the weapons tree. And I remember it being like this epic journey every couple of weeks as a kid. So I had been telling my husband about this, and then I took him home to Cape Breton, and I'm like, oh, that's the tree is literally right over there. It's really not that far at all. But as a kid, I thought it was like this grand journey we would go on, and I would be like exhausted by the end of the day, and I'm like, I could probably run there and back in 10 minutes.
Your perceptions change a little bit when you're a child.
It has.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to do a lot of stuff like that, like a lot of make-believe and pretending and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we did a lot of that too. I was big into Barbies.
Oh, I loved Barbies.
Barbies was my jam as a child. And I remember I had do you remember Gem and the Holograms?
Absolutely.
Of course. So I had a Gem doll, and she had a stand, and she had a microphone, and her earrings glue, like they lit up.
Glue?
Sorry.
Her earrings glue.
I meant like glow. All right, I have been having a few drinks this evening, and glue was some...
They glue.
It's like the past tense of glow. I don't
Nope,
know.
it's
Nope.
not. You just had a nice accent. I liked it.
Thank you. I did?
It glue.
Oh,
So they
my
glowed.
Lord.
Her earrings
Yeah,
glowed.
her earrings glowed. And so what I did was I used to make a little concert with her. So I would stand her up on one of my little nightstands that I had. And I would put like a towel or a blanket underneath. And I would put the cassette player and the cassette tape of Gem and the Holograms that I used to have underneath that table. And it was covered by the blanket. And I would bring my family members in, shut my lights off, get her ears glowing, and then play the tape. And it would literally be Gem and the Holograms singing on top of this little...
That's so
nightstand.
good.
I loved it so much. That was one of my favorite memories. I don't know why, but when you were a child, your imagination is wild.
Oh yeah, I loved Barbies. I had a lot of Barbies, but I also had action figures because I liked superhero stuff, and like my brother had a lot of action figures and like Ninja Turtles. So like my Barbies were like dating Batman and Robin and stuff.
My Barbies dated G.I. Joes. Although they were not my G.I. Joes, they
Oh.
were my brother's.
We weren't into G.I. Joes.
No, my brother was hugely into G.I. Joe. He was 7 years older than me, so he had a few different tastes than I did, but I love G.I. Joe. Like, I would watch all the G.I. Joe shows with him. Every time he would watch the cartoons on TV and stuff, I was always there with him. And he always played with... He had a full set of Lego that he would make the robot characters and stuff like that, play with his G.I. Joes. And I would bring my Barbies downstairs, and I would play Barbie, and he would play with the G.I. Joe, and then eventually he'd get tired of playing with me, so then I'm playing with G.I. Joe and Barbie by myself, and then they get married, and it just happens naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
She wants a big, strong man who can protect her.
Yeah, that's why I put Barbie with Batman.
That's right.
Yeah, it worked out.
That's
We played a lot of... Okay, so there was this toy I played with as a kid. My brother and I played with a lot, and I have not met anybody who also played with it, but I like vintage stuff, so I'll go to like vintage shows and stuff where there's like a bunch of sellers, and I've seen them selling these and they're very overpriced, but I want to buy some because I would love to have some, to give to my brother, but then also to have. So did you play with Battle Beasts when you were a kid? They were small. They were only like an inch big.
No.
And they were like plastic molded kind of creatures. And they were animal-like creatures with armor on them. And in their stomach, they had like a glass marble.
Okay.
And they were all like different elements.
Oh, interesting. No, I've never heard
So
of
then
these
in
before.
theory, when you're playing with them, like certain like water would be strong against fire. So you're supposed to battle your battle beasts. And so it's kind of Pokemon-like.
Okay.
But they were like it would be like a seahorse with all this armor on, or all these crazy, I had a duck and it had all this armor, and they would have little weapons too. You could stick their hands were kind of like, you know, the little molded hands where you could shove a little weapon in there.
Yeah.
And some had like, I don't know, shoulder cannons on their armor and stuff.
Nice.
And they were one of our favorite things. And we would play with these for hours, and we would make these big scenarios with these battle beasts. And we play absolutely. And we would like divide them up. So my brother would always get the coolest ones, and then I would get the other ones. But as a kid, I thought that I got cool ones too. But I look back and I'm like, man, his were way cooler than mine. But he'd be like, no, yeah, you get these ones. These ones are really cool. And I totally believed him. But now I look at them and I'm like, oh man, I had like the duck. Like I had the lamer animals, and he definitely had the cooler ones. But at the time, he made me feel like I had the cool ones. So
how could you not feel cool when your big brother says that?
That's a good big brother. He made me feel like I had the cool animals.
Totally.
So if anyone has some battle beasts they would like to send me.
That is so funny. I've never even heard of these
I'll
before.
show you some pictures. I think about them often.
Yeah?
Because we played with them so much. And I've seen them at vintage shows, and I'm like, I want to buy this. But then they're charging like $30 for one of these battle beasts.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Probably because it's so vintage, and
I
now they're
guess.
kind of collectible items, right? So, interesting.
Yeah. So hit me up if you got some battle beasts you're looking to sell. Or if anyone knows what that is, let me know so I'm not alone. Because I don't know anyone else that played with them.
Yeah. I've never heard of them before, so let us know. All right, well, I think we're ready to wrap up this episode. So, Nikki, did you bring your die?
I have my die.
Yeah, let's roll for the next category.
Holy mother of... I got a 4.
A 4?
These, I'm pretty sure we rolled 4 like last week or the week before. We just cannot get out of these.
No, we really can't. We cannot get out of the top half of this list.
No, we need to like shuffle this list or something because we're never going to get those categories at the bottom.
Yeah.
I got work schmirk. I would love to skip work, so I'm with whoever committed that crime.
Yeah.
During non-working hours, or whoever I may find.
Or during working hours.
Or during working hours.
Ooh, you never know. There's a lot of those these days, sadly.
If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at The Grimdark Diaries on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Grimdark Diaries on Twitter. If you want to send us an email and hit me up about some sweet battle beasts, we are at thegrimdarkdiaries@gmail.com. If you're on Apple Podcasts, we'd love it if you could comment and give us a 5-star rating. If you can follow us or subscribe on other podcast platforms, that would also be much appreciated. Join us next week to see what I come up with for Work Schmirk. And remember, a friend in the dark beats alone in the light.